Hi everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of On the Other Side of Now. My name is Christina, and I'm so glad that you are here, that you have joined me in this very raw setup. I just thought, let's just get our thoughts out there. Let's get this podcast going. It doesn't matter if it starts from my bedroom. So On the Other Side of Now is a podcast exploring grief, talking freely about death, exploring the concept of existing beyond this realm, plane, world, whatever it is you want to call it, questioning our existence after we pass to the next life. I have some fantastic guests lined up for you guys who are experts in their fields, mediums, experts in out-of-body experiences, in-body experiences, because I think that's just as important, how to live in the here and now where we are now. Stories of near-death experiences from the very people who have been there and experienced. And in general, I just want this to be a very relaxed and just free speech place to talk about the things that sometimes in society we're told to bottle up. That I don't know, I have noticed that grief is something that a lot of people find very difficult to talk about, and I wanted to create a space where it's acceptable. So why do I want to do this? Why did I start this podcast? So in April of 2025, my mum passed away, who I was extremely close to. In recent years, before she passed, the past sort of 5 years of her life, she was completely incapacitated by a myriad of horrible illnesses. The past 5 years, she just wasn't herself. And I sometimes wonder if that is actually easier or more difficult when you are grieving somebody you love. In a way, I felt like it made the grieving process slightly easier on me because I had time to adapt to a world that she didn't exist in. And we knew that she would be leaving this earth for quite some time before she passed. And I feel that also, in a way, made it wasn't as much of a shock for me, even though she died way. But for me, her passing and her death is what opened my mind up to the concept of there being something else after this life. So I started questioning what are my own beliefs, and I absolutely knew in my heart that she doesn't just cease to exist. I don't know what the answers are. I don't think anyone on this earth can be 100% sure. For me, her death started to make me question what happens to us when we die. Where do we go? I just know we go somewhere. It doesn't make even scientific sense to me that when energy cannot be made or destroyed, right? So how is it just destroyed when we die in these bodies? That doesn't actually make sense to me. It feels far more likely and far more realistic to me that we still exist in some form. I don't know what form that is. I don't claim to know all the answers. I only know my own experiences. And for me, when my mum passed away, I had this instant sensation that I needed to find her. I know that must be really common for a lot of people when they lose a loved one. And people will probably say it's grief kicking in and you can't accept that they're gone. Yes, for sure, it is really difficult coming to the realization that the person you love so much is not here in this physical realm, life. And you could say, oh, it's a delusion to think that you will be able to communicate with them or find them. But in my personal experience, I had a lot of signs from my mum that I asked for, that proved to me, and I'm a very difficult person to prove things to, because I, in a way, I want it written in blood on your forehead. Like, I need concrete proof to believe in things normally. And this was the one time that I had to just let go of that, and I had to look within and think, what feels right? Does this feel right? Does this feel real? And I've had some crazy experiences that I'd like to share with you. So I actually don't know where to begin. It was about a week before my mum passed that I discovered Darius J. Wright's channel, and he talks a lot about out-of-body experiences. And to get to there, I was actually listening to loads of near-death experiences in the build-up to my mum's death. And I think it's because I wanted to feel closer to what I wondered, would this be what she is experiencing? Is she going to go through this process? And I wanted to feel familiar with it. I felt a certain sense of comfort listening to people who had scientifically died. Their heart had stopped, they had flatlined. And I find it fascinating, just absolutely fascinating, what people have experienced when that has happened to them, and then they've been resuscitated back to life. And again, the skeptics can say it's the brain shutting down, like all these things. But it feels too consistent to me. It feels a little bit too consistent in people's experiences. And again, we could say, well, it's because people have similar beliefs. Sure. But I just feel that these experiences were too real for people, And anyway, growing up, I'd been around the Christian religion, but never like too hardcore, just light Christianity. I grew up on the island of Cyprus, where the Greek people are Greek Orthodox there. So I was around a Greek Orthodox Christian religion, but also my mum, who is half English, half Irish, she started off being like a Protestant Christian, and then she came across the Baha'i religion, who I have the utmost respect for. If you've never heard of the Baha'i religion, by the way, and you're interested, you might want to check them out. In a nutshell, and I really hope I don't butcher this because I'm not a Baha'i, but they believe in the unity of humanity, that we really do need to work together as one. Kindness and loving your neighbour is the most important thing. The thing that I really respect about the Baha'i religion, there's no like demonic things and hell and like all of this and that. So this was my introduction to spirituality, really, because I was around Baha'is because of my mom, like as a young child. And I really loved their ethos of removing all that evilness and need to repent, or you're all sinners, which I've always really struggled with Christianity, and came to the conclusion that, this is just my opinion, that a lot of the Bible has been man-made and doctored to suit whoever was writing it at the time, right? Anyway, that's a whole other subject that I could talk about. And so for me personally, I believe there was a man called Jesus. I believe in Jesus. I also believe in Baha'u'llah. So just so you know, these were this was my foundation of spirituality when I was a child. And then the thing is that I always felt I had questions. And even as a child, as a teenager, I always remember just asking religious people of all religions, why can't we know? Why is the afterlife such a mystery? Okay, why does it have to be this secrecy, this unknown place that we just cannot know about until we get there? Because if we knew, it's just too much for our little brains, and all this stuff. I don't know, I never really bought into that. I found that weird. I used to think, if there is a God, an all-knowing source, whatever it is you want to call them, this all-loving creator of everything, why must they be such a mystery? Like, I have 2 children, and the complete unconditional love, that I have for them, I just feel like, why would I not want them to know as much as possible to develop their soul, to develop themselves, and also going, I know I'm all over the place with this, but I want to keep this podcast raw, so I know my mind is flipping like everywhere, but if there is this all-loving God, an all-loving creator, how on earth could he be like, you have sinned and you did not do exactly what I asked? He seems a very vengeful, angry, very human character. And I don't think that's true. I don't think the real God, source, creator is vengeful and angry and kind of like a petulant child, if you kind of go by the Bible. I feel that, the connection I was trying to make with my own children is like, the way that I love them. How could I ever say, you did this one thing that I did not like, and so therefore I don't unconditionally love you anymore? That to me feels very unkind, unloving, and not something that an all-knowing, imagine you are the creator of everything. You must be so intelligent and all-knowing. How on earth could you behave in such a petulant way? Do you understand where I'm coming from? Anyway, so I've always had so many questions about what is source, what is God, what is the meaning of our life, what is this afterlife? And that's what I want this podcast to be about, is exploring all of that, having guests on who are experts in this field and different opinions. I'm really open to, I love the idea of interviewing people with differing opinions and just, observing and listening, and, take what works for you and leave what doesn't. But going back to about a week before my mum passed away, I was really quite desperate to be able to find her once she passed. And I don't know why, I just had this really strong, innate feeling that I would. That's when I came across Darius J. Wright's channel, where he talks about, in a nutshell, the fact that anybody can have an out-of-body experience. Every single human on this planet can do it, and that out-of-body experience can take you to what we call the afterlife, and that it is possible. You don't have to die to experience that. And it was the first time I'd ever heard anything like this, but I just remember thinking, I knew it. I knew this was possible because I innately felt it. I innately always knew this, but I just didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how this could ever be possible. Anyway, so that was back in April when my mum first passed, and I'd been trying to have an out-of-body experience since April. It is now, what is it now? It's now November. I finally had one 2 weeks ago, and I didn't manage to get to an afterlife or anything, but I know that it can take time. But even just an out-of-body experience, I feel has changed me. If you want to hear that story, you should go to the Alchemist 369 YouTube channel, because he's interviewed me on there speaking about my out-of-body experience, so I won't repeat the story of that, but that really did profoundly change me. And then I wanted to talk about signs from people that we love. Are they real? Is it our imagination? Because I've had some pretty decent signs from my mum that I always start doubting when a bit of time has passed. But in the moment, it felt just so very real to me. And sometimes I think, does it matter if it was real or not? Is what matters how you felt when you were experiencing those things more important? I don't know. But here are some of the stories of the signs that I experienced. And the reason I'm sharing these with you is that actually I hope it allows you to open yourself up to signs from your loved ones who have passed, and to not be so critical or skeptical about it. Anyway, I'll tell you a couple of the stories. So the first sign that I had from her was about 5 days after she passed away. I felt very confused, and obviously I was still in shock, even though we knew it was going to happen. I was still in shock. I don't think I'd really taken it in, and for some reason I thought she was going to cross over and she was going to instantly appear to me, because this is another thing my mum had always said, that she had a strong belief in there being an afterlife, and she always said, Christina, when I die, I will come and tell you everything that I see. I will let you know that we are eternal beings, and I will come and tell you. And she'd promised me that. And we hadn't actually spoken about this though for a good 10 years prior to her death. So anyway, it was like I had expected for her to pass away, to just bing into my living room, sit on my sofa, have a little cup of tea with me. I don't know what I was thinking. Clearly I was sleep deprived and grieving. Anyway, so on the 5th day, I was in my eldest daughter's bedroom, and I was folding her clothes and putting them away in her closet. And I felt a presence around me. I felt a warmth and a coldness at the same time. I was feeling like this wind, this air, sort of wrapping around me like a big giant hug. And I said, Mum, if that's you and you're here, if you can't reveal yourself to me yet, or if you're transitioning and you're also a bit unsure, what's happening, I said, can you send me a butterfly? Can you send me a white butterfly today, somewhere? I want to see it, so that I know that this experience is real. And then I heard a voice in my head, in my mother's voice, say, I won't send you a white butterfly, I'll send you yellow butterflies. That was in plural, which is important. I'll send you yellow butterflies because that's my favourite colour, and then you'll know it's me. And I remember thinking okay. So I go about my day. It was my partner's birthday, and he wanted to go to an art museum, and we took our little kids, got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and we were looking around this museum and with beautiful artwork. And then I turned a corner, and I almost didn't go there because it was hidden away. I don't know, I just feel like you might not know that there was this extra piece of artwork. I turned the corner, and there was this massive mural on the wall of yellow butterflies, absolutely huge, in a circle. I'm trying to remember the name of the artist. I can't. Was it Damien Hirst? I'm pretty sure Damien Hirst is a musician. Anyway, there was loads. There was blue butterflies and yellow butterflies, but predominantly these yellow butterflies. And on the plaque, it said that this piece of artwork was about death, loss, and love. I was really, really taken aback by this, because you could say, okay, what a coincidence, whatever, okay, but they were all the yellow butterflies. that she had promised, and the fact that the artist had said it was about death, loss, and love. There were more details than that, but I can't actually remember the details of it. So that was pretty shocking. And then for the rest of that day, I kept seeing these specific yellow butterflies that have like they have like different, like other little colours like on their wings. They're not that common in the UK, to be honest. Like yellow butterflies are, like the plain ones, but these had like these specific little markings on them. They look like, I don't know, like maybe pale green, little circles on them. They were everywhere, everywhere we went. So that was the first experience of like a sign that I had from her. Then it was maybe 2 weeks later. I was having like a day where I was really like missing her, feeling the grief again, and then I felt like I'd had a bit of a conversation with her again, like in my mind, but it was always very hazy. It was never, sometimes it felt more like a telepathic communication, rather than, you know, an actual conversation. It felt more like a telepathic communication of concepts, I suppose. And again, I had said, if this is really you, Mum, and I thought, haha, catch you out with this one because I've never seen one of these before. So can you send me a blue butterfly today? I thought blue butterflies are pretty rare in the UK. So anyway, I go off to the park with my 2 and 4-year-old, and lo and behold, this blue butterfly, it was pale blue, a pale blue butterfly. It was 100% blue. It looked like, you know, the emoji of a butterfly. I've never seen, it looked like a CGI butterfly to me. I caught it on camera. I actually videoed this. But by the time I got my camera out and stuff, it was just on its way out, but I do have evidence of it. This blue butterfly came and sat on the bumper of my 2-year-old's pram. My kids were like, butterfly, butterfly. And I was just like, well, damn. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is pretty insane. And then as always, my mind always flips back to, but maybe it's just a blue butterfly. It happened to be a blue butterfly. It is spring. Butterflies are around. Okay. But this is what I mean about signs. Like, often signs are things that will mean something to you, but it's hard to get them, you know, written in stone kind of thing. You know what I mean? Anyway, and then this last experience is the most profound, crazy one. So it was maybe 6 weeks after her passing. Yeah, because I'd say it was towards the end of May. My kids had gone to bed early, which is a rarity. My partner was working a night shift, and I remember after tidying up their toys and stuff in the living room, I sat down on the floor with a candle, and I had been listening to a medium who I really love. I have never really been into mediums, by the way. I just don't really resonate usually with them, but there's something about this particular lady. She's called Mallory Psychic Medium, I think, on Instagram and YouTube. She's a French lady. There's something about her. I just love her. And again, she appeared on my timeline maybe like 4 days after my mum passed away. And something about her vibe, she feels so genuine to me. Anyway, she had said, it was a completely different subject. She was talking about spirit guides and how to connect with your spirit guides. And in this video, she was saying, you could light a little candle, sit down, sort of get into a meditative state, and just start asking them like questions. And so yeah, I sat down to do that, and I didn't even get to that part. I was just meditating, and I often when I'm meditating, I get to a point where I feel this like overwhelming love, and it's like I concentrate on all the love I have for the people in my life who I really, really love. So, I think of my children, my partner, my auntie, my uncle, my dad, and it just grows and grows and grows, and it gets bigger and bigger until I feel like I have this overwhelming love for like every human, like the whole world, and it is like an amazing feeling, and then it kind of feels like it's just gonna like shoot out the top of my head, like this insane sensation of love. And I was in like that state when like I heard a noise in the corner, so opened my eyes, kind of came out of that state, and one of my children's toys, they have this light up ball. It was actually a Christmas ball, like of the Grinch, like last year, where you have to whack it, and you have to whack it really hard for the light to turn on and start flashing, and then you have to whack it really hard for it to turn off. But it was like in the corner of the room. It was like around dusk time. I also videoed this, by the way. And it just started flashing like on its own in the corner. And I was like, that's weird. And I thought, maybe the battery's going, or something like isn't right with it. I went and I picked it up, and it stopped flashing, and I just put it on the floor like in front of me, and I looked at it, and then suddenly I said, Mum, is that you? Are you here? And it lit up instantly. It started flashing again. And like I said, this ball does not just randomly flash. You have to bang it on something for it to flash. And I double checked this after this whole experience. It went back to being exactly how it is. We have to hit it really hard. And I just thought, oh my goodness. And then it would stop. So I'd ask a question, it would flash, 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 stop. So I looked at it again, and I said, are you okay? I said, have you crossed over to the other side, or are you still here? And I remember asking that question, thinking, oh, how can she say yes or no? I remember this really specifically. So I said, are you still here? And it started flashing. And I've actually learned, again, through Mallory, but a lot of people say this, that initially when you first pass over, the soul can maybe hang around for a little while around the loved ones. And I have to say that for the first 6 weeks is when I had all these signs, and I felt her really, really close to me. And then it has slowly faded, and it's definitely not the same. But anyways, I said, are you still here? And it started flashing. And then I don't know why that made me worry a bit, so it stopped. And then I said, are you unhappy? Are you still in pain? Because she went through so much pain that I feel like I probably need therapy for seeing her go through all of this. She was in the hospital for 8 weeks before she passed. Actually more than that. Anyway, nothing compared to what she was actually feeling. It was my biggest worry that she was still maybe in pain, and I don't know, struggling with this transition. So when I asked that, are you still in pain? Are you unhappy? Ball didn't light up. So I was like, okay. So then I said, are you happy? Are you young again? The ball lit up. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. And then I asked like a couple more questions, but I could feel her fading. I could feel the energy that she had brought. I think they say like souls can communicate through electrics, and I don't know, some people say, lights going on and off and whatnot. And I don't know, something about this ball, I feel made it accessible to her, like in that moment. I could feel her energy fading. I'd asked like a few more questions. I can't actually remember what they are now. I think because I was in so much shock at the time. I filmed some of it, so I have maybe a 30-second clip of some of it, but I turned the camera off because this sounds so silly, but it was like I didn't want to scare her away. That probably sounds really, really dumb, but I wanted to have like a private moment with her. Anyway, so that was the light up ball experience, and then it just stopped. And then again, my logical brain kicked in and I said, what if it's just the battery has gone in this thing? So, and so it's just lighting up and flashing and doing whatever all over the place. No. After that, 5 minutes that I had with her, it went back to being exactly as it always has been. We have to whack it really hard on the floor to switch it on and whack it to switch it off. So I don't know. Any skeptics out there? Can you explain that? I don't know. I genuinely cannot find a logical explanation for that. And so that was a very profound experience for me. And then, as I said, like slowly over time, I felt her presence like less and less. I don't really know why that is. I know some people say, they can always communicate with us, and I think that they can, but I genuinely feel like she has moved on to something else. I feel she was such a powerful, strong character that I think she is doing something she really wants to be doing. I don't know what that is. I will find out. But I thought I would share those signs with you guys. And I'd love to hear if you have any experiences like that. If you could tell me, if you're watching this on YouTube, tell me in the comments below. If you're listening to this on a podcast, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is On the Other Side of Now. And I would just love to hear anyone else's experience with this, with signs. So thank you so much for listening today, and please subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to this, or to my YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube, because I have some really awesome guests lined up, and the more subscribers, the better the guests I will be able to get on this podcast. And please leave any comments for anything else you'd like me to talk about. If you'd like me to go more into detail about the OBE experience that I did have, but like I said, you can check that out on the Alchemist 369's YouTube channel if you'd like to hear that story. And I will see you in the next episode.